Family Guy is known for being a funny show, but comedy cannot exist without tragedy. So that's why we're going to be taking a look at some of the saddest moments in Family Guy history. Starting with the time Brian fell in love with an older woman, only to have her life cut prematurely and Brian wallows and Peter swallows.
Me and the boys were just,
Whoa, you're off the meter, Brian. You're under arrest.
So after Brian's arrested for driving while intoxicated, he's ordered to fulfill 100 hours of community service by taking care of an old crabby woman. Is it too late to suggest the electric chair?
Now I like my tea at 4 and my dinner at 6. And I take my bath at 7 sharp so I can listen to Paul Harvey.
Being old really does give some people a warped sense of entitlement, huh? Like, congrats, you haven't been creamed by a bus yet. It's not the most impressive of feats. And Brian quickly starts to feel the pain of having to care for such a bitter old woman.
What is this, spit soup?
tomato bisque.
What is this, snot soup?
Tomato bisque.
Maybe if you try it a third time, you'll finally figure out what it is. Unfortunately, Brian can't do much talking back or else he'll get carted off to jail, but after some time, he starts to think that sounds way more palatable than putting up with her.
You're just a miserable, dried-up shut-in trying to make everyone else feel as bad as you do.
I mean, what other hobbies are there to have when you get that old? I don't think I'm going to be able to keep up with my competitive breakdancing, so bringing other people down sounds like the next best thing. But Brian later learns that Pearl wasn't just some random old lady, she was actually once a singing sensation.
No one has seen Pearl Burton since that fateful night over 30 years ago. She's presumed dead.
Dang, they really hit Brian with the "this is who you're being mean to" meme. So after realizing he might have gone too hard on Pearl, Brian starts to form a close bond with her.
Pearl, do you rent or own?
Own what?
Those wings, you angel.
You think angels are just taking off their wings, Brian? I know she's old, but surely you have some better romantic lines than that. So Brian really wants to show her off to the world, but Pearl's afraid because she hasn't left the house in decades. I mean, she hasn't missed much. Okay, so a lot actually did happen from the 70s to the 2000s. Who'd have thought? And Brian manages to convince Pearl to leave the house and enjoy all the things life has to offer.
Brian, I've missed so much. I wouldn't be standing here right now if it wasn't for you.
Well, you might have been, actually. I guess looking both ways before crossing the street didn't come around until much later. Unfortunately, things get a whole lot less bright when it's revealed Pearl only has a few minutes to live. Luckily, Brian's found a way to give her the life she could have had with him.
I only wish we could have a little more time together.
We can.
Man, we really had high hopes for virtual reality back then, huh? I think my Oculus has been used more as a paperweight than a VR headset for the past few years. But Brian manages to give Pearl one heck of a parting gift, simulating a whole life where they grow old and happy together, all before Pearl finally slips away.
Goodbye, Pearl.
It's a pretty heart-wrenching scene, especially when you consider the fact that Brian never really has this kind of connection with any other woman in the future. One could argue Brian's heart died right here, followed by the rest of his body several years later in a moment we'll cover shortly. And Family Guy has sometimes shown they have the capacity for handling death in a mature way, especially when it involves one of their own, like with Angela's funeral and Pawtucket Pete.
Webster's defines class as a group of students gathered at a preordained time for the purposes of education.
Of course, it just wouldn't be Family Guy without a little humor alongside it. So the character of Angela was written out of the show after her voice actor Carrie Fisher passed away in 2016. Seeing as how this was a character who was canonically not very well liked by most people, it's fitting that Peter would be the one to give her eulogy at her funeral.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way, Angela.
I think anyone else probably could have spitballed something a little bit more coherent, but it probably made the most sense to have Peter do it. For all the headaches he's caused her and the occasional unfair mistreatment he's felt by her hand, Peter seemed to still have a great amount of respect and maybe even love for his former boss.
I may have lost a boss, but heaven has gained a princess.
There's some silly jokes about her dying while swimming after eating, but this eulogy is still just as much for Carrie as it is for Angela. This gave the showrunners and Seth MacFarlane the chance to say goodbye to someone they not only worked with, but grew up watching. It's a touching moment. One that was wasted at the wrong location, though. Oh well, it's not like she would have been able to hear it anyway.
And I am at the wrong funeral.
And a symbolic death would occur in the episode Dog Bites Bear, where Brian destroys Rupert and later has to make it up to Stewie through a journey to a mountaintop.
No! Rupert! Rupert!
So Stewie awakes to find that Brian has accidentally eaten and torn apart Rupert. Looks like they had a pretty wild time together last night. I bet Stewie's mad he wasn't invited.
Stewie, I am so sorry. I was drunk. It was an accident. I must have thought he was a chew toy.
Most of Brian's misfortunes in life probably all stemmed from his being drunk too. Oh well, keep drinking and maybe soon you'll unlock the secret to being a competent drunk like Stone Cold Steve Austin. But Stewie isn't quick to forgive and decides to completely cut Brian out of his life for good.
Twitter, unfollow. Instagram, unfollow. Snapchat, unfollow.
This now brings Brian's follower count down to a whopping 2. Just put him out of his misery, Stewie. Have some mercy. And Stewie has bigger things to worry about anyway, like fulfilling Rupert's last will and testament.
Well, he cremated that stuffed animal and he's going to Vermont to scatter the ashes.
What?
You think that's confusing? How about trying to comprehend this scene without any context? Can we maybe lighten this episode up and make it more about Chris's thriving quinceañera business? No? Alright. I guess we gotta go back to the Stewie and Brian drama.
I can hear you following me. Good. I swear to God, do not take one step further or I will hit you.
Well, Brian's willing to test that theory, which leads to a big brawl between the former friends. To be fair, I think we all had a stuffed animal we'd be this defensive over. I just hope the relationship you had with yours wasn't as uncomfortable as Stewie and Rupert's was.
He was my best friend! I'm supposed to be your best friend.
Always an awkward moment when you find out your best friend doesn't consider you his best friend. I guess you can either continue on with dignity or murder your best friend's best friend. Brian's made his choice and he's gone full mask off about it.
And I was sick of always playing second fiddle to that bear. He's not even real.
Well, he's still real to Stewie, damn it. And so is that broken leg Stewie gets from being thrown off the mountain. Thankfully, Brian isn't going to leave him hanging whether he wants to or not. So the two make their trek up the mountain while discussing more about their relationship.
Why are you so upset over a doll when I'm real and I'm still here? Because Rupert was going to be with me forever!
Bold of you to assume Rupert wouldn't get up and leave you one day. He just had to work up the courage to do it is all. But this makes sense. For how smart Stewie is, he isn't ready to accept the finality of death, and Rupert was the one thing he didn't have to worry about losing. Interesting belief for a kid with a time machine, but sure, we'll buy into it.
Why does it bother you how upset I am?
That is a very good point.
Somehow Brian found a way to be the more embarrassing one on the way to a stuffed animal's funeral. That's just his special talent. But the pair finally make it to the top, and Brian ends up being the one to say some kind words about his victim.
He was understanding. He always listened. He made Stewie a better person.
I guess it must have been Rupert who quelled some of Stewie's more violent tendencies. A real case of I can fix him gone right. And with those words, Brian and Stewie lay Rupert to rest, passing his ashes into the great beyond. Or into the lungs of the surrounding wildlife. But Brian finds a way to truly make it up to Stewie, finding a replacement Rupert to surprise him with.
Rupert! You've come back to me!
It's a scene that probably shouldn't make us tear up, but they really punched us in the heart with that Boyz II Men song. How can you not be moved by them? The whole emotional core of the episode is pretty sad, but at least the tears you end up having at the end come from happiness rather than sadness. But Brian would make a noble effort to save Rupert and Stewie and Lawyer Guy when the baby and bear almost drown in the ocean.
Rupert? Rupert!
So when Brian and Stewie try their hands at owning a lobster boat, Rupert accidentally falls in the water and Stewie insists he and Brian go in to save him.
We have to save Rupert. We have to.
Or you can just get another one. I know Brian hates that concept for when he dies, but Rupert was just replaced and Stewie doesn't really seem to mind. And there are a lot of reasons to go swimming in shark-infested waters. Okay, only a few. Like 2 or 3. And rescuing a stuffed bear isn't really one of them. Oh, heck no. I'm pretty sure Cthulhu lives all the way down there. Rupert's gone for good. But that doesn't faze Stewie, who's willing to do anything to save his bear, even if Brian isn't interested.
I don't care what you do. I'm going back to save Rupert.
Fine, go ahead and try. You'll be back in 1 minute.
Bold of Brian to assume Stewie would come back if he couldn't save Rupert. There's nothing more romantic than two lovers drowning at the bottom of the ocean together. And that's pretty much what nearly happens, leading to a somber and sad moment that sees Stewie giving in to the lack of oxygen. The light piano, the flashlight spotlighting them, the final hug. I can't believe I'm being moved by a toy. Thankfully, it doesn't end too sadly as Brian manages to make the save before Stewie can drown to death. It's a pretty sweet moment for all parties involved, really showing how much Brian's grown in treating Rupert with respect because it means the world to Stewie. But Stewie would almost have to come to terms with losing Brian when the latter decides to sacrifice himself to save Peter's life and new kidney in town.
Mrs. Griffin, I'm afraid all the toxic chemicals your husband ingested from his homemade energy drink have caused total kidney failure.
So out of all the parts in Peter's body that could fail him, his kidneys are the first to go. And I just lost a ton of money because I had an over-under bet on his liver. With no immediate donor in sight, Peter will have to come in for dialysis treatment 3 times a week.
Is there any other way?
Yes, there is.
No. We'll do the dialysis.
That's the one lame thing about being a doctor. You're issued a gun, but you hardly ever get to use it. Hartman's got to find a way to go into his patient's body so he can take the fight to diseases, Osmosis Jones style.
Doc, I don't know how much more of this I can take. It's been 3 weeks.
Honestly, I feel his pain. You gotta sit there for 3 to 4 hours a session for that stuff. Hospitals have gotta team up with movie theaters or something to at least give the patient something to do.
I am so sick of this crap mucking up my life.
Well, Peter, I mean, what, you can get away with skipping 1 treatment.
Sure, it starts with 1 treatment, but then it becomes 2, and then 10, and then pretty soon you end up looking like a resident of Springfield, USA. I don't know where in the country that is, but it must be stricken with Chernobyl levels of radiation to make its residents look like that.
You don't look so good.
What are you talking about? I feel great. Like I could go another 20 years or more.
Well, Peter's recklessness almost made him last less than 20 minutes. So with no kidney donor and Peter's health hanging on by a thread, things are looking pretty grim.
Well, what about me?
Is that possible, Doctor?
I mean, anything's possible in this weirdo town. So yeah, sure, a dog can probably give a man his kidney. But we do need some stakes, so let's complicate this already made-up science. If Brian wants to do this, Peter will need both of his kidneys.
But I only have 2. That's right. The procedure would kill you.
And without needing to be prodded or convinced, Brian decides to go through with the process. At least he'll always have his writing to be remembered by. On second thought, you may want to delay this until you can at least write something decent.
I'm a dog. I have another 8 years at best. I'm willing to give that up so you can have another 40.
Is that a threat to the town of Quahog? Well, even if Brian is essentially cursing the town with Peter's presence for another few decades, this is still a very touching moment.
We had a lot of good years together, right?
Yeah. We sure did, buddy.
But while Brian has made up his mind, Stewie isn't exactly ready for Brian to be gone. Babies are just too young to understand the concept of your dog giving your dad both of his kidneys. It's something we all have to go through at some point, but usually never this early in life.
I don't want to lose anybody. I don't want to lose anybody.
I feel for the kid, but he's not exactly making it easy to look at him. Work through your grief and everything, but maybe just do it facing away from the camera. When the time finally comes for Brian to make his sacrifice, a last-minute clutch comes in to save the day.
It turns out I'm a perfect match, and I'm willing to give up one of my kidneys.
Way to just steal Brian's thunder, Doc. This was the only time Brian could be a noble hero, and you ruined it. Oh well, at least the family doesn't have to suffer the loss of their dog or their patriarch. But it still speaks to how effective this show can be at emotional moments, because leading up to the final reveal, they took us on a real emotional roller coaster. But sadness would strike the Griffin household when Meg finally stands up for herself in Seahorse Seashell Party, which tears the family apart and unfortunately doesn't make the future any brighter for her.
I am sick of all you guys ganging up on me. You guys all think you're so much better than me.
So while the family is stuck inside during a storm, they decide the best use of their time and energy should be towards bullying Meg. Too bad she's out for blood tonight. They've got nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. She probably can't get away with physically murdering them, but she can verbally eviscerate them in the meantime.
You say hurtful things to me constantly. Do you have any idea what that feels like?
And Meg makes her rounds, targeting everyone in her vicinity, Chris, Lois, and especially Peter. Brian and Stewie get off easy this time, saved by the unintended aggressive mushroom trip per usual.
And honestly, when I turn 18, I don't know that I ever want to see you again.
Don't get me wrong, it's super satisfying to see Meg tear each of them a collective new one, but we also feel kinda sad it ever even got this far. Like, the whole family unit is crumbling and all they had to do was not treat their daughter like crap. So we don't feel bad that Lois is crying, but we do feel bad that a family had to suffer because of their transgressions.
I'm so disgusted with my behavior, and I'm so sorry, Meg.
And as Meg pulls on those threads, the rest of the family starts to unfurl, turning on each other and yelling at one another. But that's when Meg makes the depressing realization about this family.
Do you think it's possible that this family can't survive without some sort of lightning rod to absorb all the dysfunction?
I think if you're asking yourself that question, then you should probably realize the family doesn't deserve to survive if that's the case. But Meg, ever the most selfless person out of the entire family, decides that she'll stay in the role of punching bag in order to appease the family and keep them together.
You're a bitch.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Yeah, this sucks, man. While the episode kinda ends on a happy note, it's still pretty dark that Meg has just accepted her life of punishment just to keep a family of psychos happy. That's honestly a lot more terrifying than whatever hell world Brian was hallucinating in this episode. But the family would be put through hell when Brian is tragically killed in Life of Brian, leaving them, especially Stewie, to pick up the pieces.
Brian, look out!
Okay, like, I know this is supposed to be sad and shocking, but let's not act like this isn't something that happens to the family on a random Tuesday every now and then. But this is one bit of vicious cartoon violence that you can't walk away from, so the family must say their goodbyes.
I don't know how much longer he has, but I suggest that you all go in and say your goodbyes.
Ignoring the really steep vibe shift, the show does manage to make this scene feel like it has some weight to it. I'm sure anyone who's ever lost a pet will probably have some kind of emotional connection to this.
I'm afraid that our Brian is dead.
Thank you, Lois. Wasn't really sure what I was looking at here because I have the brain of a toddler, so thanks for clearing that up. But the grief train keeps on rolling straight into Brian's funeral, where the weight of his death seemingly rocks everybody.
This is probably the worst pain I've ever had to go through, and I've sprained my ankle twice.
I guess it wouldn't make a ton of sense for this episode to be nothing but sorrow, so a few jokes are sprinkled in here and there to lighten the mood. That's usually what funerals need more of, right? Maybe they should get a DJ out there to lead them in the Cupid Shuffle.
We're all gonna miss him, Peter. We're all gonna miss him very much.
Well, not too much, because after a month has gone by, the Griffins decide it's time to get themselves another dog. It's what Brian would have wanted, except the time when he really didn't want it. But Peter decides to bring home a new dog, Vinny.
This is good. This is good. Hey, you guys got a good bang of broadcast, you know that?
Well, he's not totally different from Brian, he just comes in a bit of a different flavor. Everyone's glad to have a new dog around the house, but Stewie isn't quite ready to move on.
Everyone in this family is so damn thrilled with you, they've forgotten all about Brian. Well, I'm not thrilled.
He makes a good point. Some people are happy with shoving the pain down and moving on, but others can't move on as easily, especially when you're as young as Stewie. Also, losing Brian temporarily cuts down on the number of family members in the house who can understand Stewie, so it makes sense why he feels extra lonely. Luckily, he and Vinny manage to have a sweet moment that seems to hint that things will get better.
Maybe we were meant to be together.
You know what, Vinny? I'm starting to think that may be true.
Yeah, well, I guess some destinies only last a few episodes. So even if this whole thing was just one big publicity stunt to reel in viewers, there are some genuine moments of sadness to experience here. Yeah, they got us a few times, but that doesn't make this whole thing any less silly. But before his actual death, the episode Doggone gave us a peek at how the family would react when they believed Brian had been killed.
I hit and killed a dog with my car.
So all this starts because Brian ended up killing a dog while drunk driving, and when he tries to turn himself in, he realizes that humans and dogs aren't held in the same regard.
Killing a dog is not a crime?
Of course not!
I guess everyone just wants to overlook the drunk driving he was doing too. That's gotta be worth some kind of charge, right? But no, Brian learns the hard truth that his life just doesn't carry the same weight as a human life in the court of law. Probably explains why the driver who killed Brian was never charged. I actually kinda like the theory that it was Ruth who did it.
I could blow your brains out and they'd throw me a parade! What? I'm just screwing around, Brian. Nobody cares.
Of course, Brian doesn't exactly want to accept that fact, so he starts campaigning for equal rights for animals. Kinda weird that a bunch of human women have been dating him for years when the law doesn't even recognize him as a person. That's somehow an even worse look for those ladies.
Wait a minute, I'm not allowed to have steak?
Well, no, steak is made by killing cattle.
If there's one thing you definitely don't want to do, it's get between Americans and their hamburgers. To deny them burgers is to deny them their infallible rights written in the Constitution. Burgers weren't invented back when it was written, but you get the point.
Yeah, I want to eat a dog now. I say we eat that one!
What?
Get him!
That's typically how these town hall meetings go anyway. You ask your fellow citizens to change their ways, and they threaten to eat you. It's the bread and butter of local politics. And of course, this pretty much rips away all meaning that Brian thought his life held.
I just never realized how little meaning my life had. Stewie, my life isn't worth anything.
Oh yeah? Well, what if your family thought you were dead? Well, Stewie decides to test that idea to show Brian his life has more meaning than he thought.
No people were killed, but the burned body of a dog was found inside. The tag on the collar says he lived here.
As expected, the family all weeps over the perceived loss of their beloved dog. Granted, this is probably also how they'd act if they lost their iPhone or something, but that's neither here nor there. To say Brian's life held no meaning is of course not true, and this moment of sadness does more than just reaffirm it.
My best friend in the whole world, and he's gone.
Yeah, it's manipulative, but again, animals serve such a special role in our lives that it's hard not to get a little misty-eyed during moments like this. Keep up that same energy next time you order shellfish at a restaurant, okay? But a real-world death would rock not just the characters, but the viewers at home when the show paid tribute to the passing of Adam West and Adam West High.
Thank you for having me. I've been having such a hard time since Adam passed away.
Well, it kinda looks like it's gonna get a bit harder. Are they eating lasagna and mac and cheese? You guys are gonna be wrecking your bowels with all that dairy. But yeah, not only has the real Adam West passed away, but so too has the town's beloved mayor.
Wait, Uncle Adam is dead? How many people has this show killed?
Not enough where it warrants an investigation to be opened, but enough to make you wonder if there probably should be an investigation. But Mayor West was a man of great esteem, and Brian had a way to immortalize him in the town forever.
You know what we should do? We should rename the high school for Mayor West.
Funny, the last time Brian tried to get the high school's name changed was to get in good with a woman. I wouldn't doubt he's gonna try to become Carol's 11th husband at this rate. It's the closest way he can have Lois without actually having Lois, I guess.
And while you do that, I'll make a special video dedication reminding people of how great Mayor West was.
Those always get the tears flowing. Or at least they usually do because they aren't spliced together with a trick shot compilation. Then again, those are pretty cool trick shots. Maybe the Oscars should try this for their in memoriam section next time. And Brian successfully manages to change the name of the high school, but the town is still in need of a new mayor, so he ends up running against Quagmire, who joins the race to spite him. Nothing all that tear-worthy happens here, except for the end.
Mayor West?
It's a pretty fitting send-off, having West appear as a guardian angel that helps two enemies reconcile their differences. And to cap everything off, we also get one final goodbye featuring the real-life Adam West.
It'll be a home run.
This is one of those send-offs that maintains the show's trademark humor and never gets all that somber with it, which is probably how Adam would have wanted it. Doesn't mean you still can't be a little sad that the town of Quahog won't be hilariously driven into the ground anymore. You're always missed, Adam Wee. But the show would get pretty dang serious by stripping away all the elements that make it funny in Brian and Stewie, where the titular duo talked about life, death, and what they mean to one another.
You're wasting your breath. These bank vault doors close automatically at the end of the workday. This thing won't be open again till tomorrow.
So Brian and Stewie end up getting locked inside a bank vault for an entire weekend, leaving them with nothing but themselves and the tools at their disposal to keep them occupied. They're both level-headed guys. Surely they can keep their wits about them as they wait out the weekend.
I don't want any trouble.
There's not gonna be any trouble as long as you eat my poo.
Yeah, these are the usual combos that get sparked from being stuck in a room with someone. And they've only been locked in for 5 minutes. So they end up keeping themselves super busy with a little poop eating, a little liquor drinking, and a little ear piercing before things start to get serious again.
Are you trying to hurt me? Because you've succeeded.
Oh, just calling it like I see it.
Yeah, this is usually the path you get put on after a bunch of heavy drinking and stabbing your ears with needles. Both start to get defensive and aggressive towards one another, with Stewie really landing a killing blow on Brian.
I got you to eat my poop. And you know why I did it?
Yeah, you were afraid you were gonna get sick.
Because I wanted to see if I could.
Yeah, Brian would be pretty validated in turning that gun on Stewie right then and there. Someone eating your poop should lead to you laying down your life for that person. It should also lead you to a very immediate trip to the hospital in case any of you are trying to do a solid with your friend's solid. When the tension's lower and everyone finally relaxes, Stewie decides to inquire about the gun Brian has in his security deposit box.
Just having the gun here, knowing there's a way out, it helps.
And suddenly the poop eating is the furthest thing from my mind. Thank you. I mean, this is still pretty dark and depressing talk, but it might just be better than thinking about that. But Brian reaffirms that he believes he has no purpose in life and keeps the gun as an insurance policy in case life ever just becomes too much for him.
I've tried to find meaning in my life, and I just can't.
But Stewie tries to lift Brian's spirits by telling him how much he matters to him. It's kind of a touching moment for a narcissistic talking dog and an evil baby genius to have, but the show mostly pulls it off.
I love you as one loves another person whom one simply cannot do without.
It might feel like Family Guy trying to have its big Emmy moment, but at least there's some kind of depth and meat to this thing. It's a testament to the episode's writing that it manages to instill some kind of sadness for these characters that resonates some. Oh, dang it, I'm thinking about the poop eating again. But sometimes when moments are meant for laughs, they can actually be pretty sad, like when Peter tries to feed his fish in the episode Meet the Quagmires.
Here you go, Lieutenant Shiny Sides. It's okay, you don't have to eat it now.
Kinda looks like Peter might have forgotten to feed him and is making up for lost time. Like a month's worth of time based on that pile. It's obviously silly and ridiculous, but I guess you could still feel just a tinge of melancholy from watching Peter cry. Losing a pet is hard, especially when you probably had something to do with it.
You'll eat it later! You'll eat it later, Lieutenant Shiny Sides! Ah!
But Peter would be the one dying in the alternate future episode Rich Old Stewie, leading the family to mourn the loss of their leader. Briefly.
Stewie, Peter is dying.
What? Oh my god, that's awful!
So this leads to the now older, rougher-looking family to reunite in order to see their dying dad. Honestly, the saddest part about the episode is probably just seeing how the family turns out. Outside of Stewie, everyone's kinda looking like they went through a nuclear apocalypse.
Who's out there? Settle down, just got some company.
Well, aren't you going to introduce me?
But when the kids finally return home, they find Peter in a pretty rough state, bedridden, ailing, and not long for this world. But judging by how old everyone else is, I don't know, doesn't it kind of seem like it's time to mosey on over to the great beyond? He's gotta be like pushing 100 at this point, right? They should have pulled the plug like 10 plugs ago.
Just promise, when I die, that you will help our family.
I will. I promise.
And so Stewie, the only one in the family with any money, starts using his wealth to fix up the house and give them everything they need in this trying time. Except for a way to fix Peter, I guess. He can create a pill that lets Brian live forever but can't cure diabetes? Kinda sounds like you fumbled being a billionaire.
Lois, it's time.
Oh, Peter, I'm gonna miss you so much.
Peter's time eventually comes and everyone gathers around to say their final, tearful goodbyes, eager to take in his last words that will no doubt instill them with the wisdom of a life well lived.
Lactating, pregnant, Latinas.
I will, Dad.
Now, was that wisdom or just a request to go in and delete his search history? Well, either way, Peter dies and the outcome is actually kind of sad as everyone in the family gathers around his body.
No, we won't cry for him. We will celebrate his life.
I mean, you can do a little crying. After all, Peter is dead, and now all they're left with is the millions of dollars Stewie's about to leave them with. If I knew that kind of money was about to hit my bank account, I would absolutely be crying too. And as it turns out, that's all the family was looking for, including Peter.
We did it! We got him!
Well, it was sad for a second. But when you play the role of the boy who cried I'm dying, chances are you've ruined any possibility of people actually being sad when you kick the bucket for real. So even though it was all a ruse, it was still a tad rough to see the family so sad, because watching a parent pass is an incredibly hard thing to deal with. Now killing them yourself? A whole lot easier.
Chris should be lighting his cigar right about...
But sometimes it can be sad to be reminded of who's passed on, and that's exactly what the episode No Giggity No Doubt does when it brings back the ghosts of characters long gone.
That can only mean show ghosts!
You know what's weird about this one? Adam West's death wasn't truly mentioned in the show until the episode Adam West High, which was the final episode of this season. If you happen to be one of the few people who only got their news through Family Guy, I could understand you being kinda confused. It was a nice sight to see the show bring up both him and Angela, and I could understand shedding a tear for the people we enjoyed watching for so many years. That doesn't apply to Muriel though, whose voice actor is still alive, mind you. You don't get to be a part of this club just yet. And did you know it was possible to feel sad for Meg again? I know, crazy! Twice in one video! But that's exactly what the show does when it depicts her alone at her birthday dinner in the episode Papa Has a Rollin' Son.
Could I have some bread while I open my presents?
At this point, we're gonna have to start charging you for the bread.
Look, cut the girl some slack. Not only is she alone on her birthday, but she also apparently brought presents for herself to open too. Nobody likes to be unwillingly alone on their birthday, so while this is played for a cutaway joke, it's still a sad sight to see. Can't they just throw a candle in one of the pieces of bread to turn this whole day around? And it's not the only time Meg has had a barren birthday, as in Quagmire and Meg, nobody ends up showing up for her surprise 18th birthday party.
Hey, what's with all the cars on the street?
Oh, they're all here for your surprise party, Meg.
Peter, for God's sake, you idiot!
I mean, you can't be too mad at Peter because he actually wasn't telling the truth. Those cars are actually for another thing, and the big surprise of Meg's surprise party is that no one showed up.
If it's a surprise party, where is everybody?
Chris, what the hell? I thought you were gonna pay the kids from school to show up.
Is that an irrational fear anyone else had? That your parents are actually paying your friends to be nice to you? No? Just me? Yeah, that explains a lot.
I'm really sorry about this, honey. It looks like nobody's coming.
I wouldn't be surprised if neither of Meg's parents showed up for her birth either. We've grown pretty accustomed to seeing Meg being down in the dumps, but this is one of those gut punches that just doesn't have a funny side to it. It's a kid's worst nightmare come to life, but for Meg, it's just another day. But at least Meg would find a way to put her sadness towards something worthwhile, as baking sad reveals her tears make for great cookies, so the family tries to keep her sad as much as possible.
Meg, I'm so sorry.
I just have to accept it. I'll never be happy.
So after getting rejected from college, Meg starts to cry directly into the batch of cookies she's making. You think you're crying now? Just wait until the FDA gets its hands on you. But despite the huge contamination risk that comes with putting your bodily fluids in your food, the cookies actually turn out amazing.
Meg, these are literally the best cookies I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, they're incredible.
They might want to go see a doctor before they start writing these things off as incredible. Don't you know tear cookies are the #1 leading cause in the spread of pathogens? But if you're eating cookies, you've probably already accepted the health risks, so Meg, Brian, Chris, and Stewie decide to make a business out of it.
We have so many new cookie orders.
Which means we've got a lot of baking to do.
But as the business grows, they find it harder and harder to find things that'll make Meg cry. Much like the rest of the show, this whole operation thrives on Meg being sad. But it eventually gets to the point where nothing makes her cry. Great for her self-esteem, bad for business, especially with a $50,000 cookie order underway.
I can't cry! And when I hear about my crappy old life, I just feel proud and happy about where I am now!
Well, now is not the time to get your life together. There are people out there depending on your misery and suffering. I think my dad used to say the same thing to me when I was her age. But it turns out that the rest of the family can accept this new Meg and don't try to push her into being miserable, which is shockingly refreshing for this show.
I want you to be happy, Meg.
Chris is right. We love you.
Well, the concept is a lot sadder than the execution, but at least this one finishes with a happy ending for Meg. But seriously, keep your fluids out of your cooking from now on. And nobody likes feeling excluded or unwanted, but that's exactly how Peter felt when he got passed up by every horse at the dance in the episode First Blood.
Real cowboys don't choose their horse. The horse chooses them.
I knew that, I just didn't expect the process to be like a high school homecoming dance. Being alone at the dance is kind of one of those primal fears we all have. Because as we all know, high school is the be-all end-all when it comes to determining if you'll be a winner or loser in life. Wow, this is just solidifying the theory that horses are the most pretentious of animals. It's a silly little spin on the horse chooses you cliche, but did they have to make it so painfully depressing? Somebody get out there and dance with him already. You'll all feel sorry when he's a rich and successful secret agent astronaut millionaire one day. And it wasn't the only sad moment in the episode, as we also see Quagmire go through life with his real estate agent only to subtly learn of his death years later.
Like most single men, my only Christmas cards are from my realtor and the guy who sold me my car. We kind of aged together.
He's not kidding either. We're treated to a fun little sequence of a young Quagmire buying his house and the years passing. Seasons may change, but one thing always remains the same. Quagmire can look forward to a Christmas card from real estate agent Bob McKay every year. But of course, as winter leaves us, so too do the people in our lives. Yeah, their only back and forth communication to each other was through Christmas cards, so I can't really say they both qualify as friends, but seeing a card from a new agent years later is still just as devastating. This is just a hypothetical future, and yet it still manages to tug at the heartstrings ever so slightly. The Pearl Jam song accompanying it is a nice touch too. I didn't need to have a dry keyboard to write this anyway.
How did he die?
He was screwing a client's wife and the guy shot him.
But looking into the past can be just as sad as looking into the future, and that's exactly what Brian experiences when he hears an Anne Murray song in Crisscross.
What the hell is all this?
This is history, Brian. A key moment in the history of happiness.
So when Brian takes a seat, Stewie starts to sing Anne Murray's song You Needed Me, which starts to elicit happy memories from Brian's childhood. We've all got that one song that opens the floodgates of nostalgia whenever we hear it. For me, it's Rage Against the Machine song Killing in the Name. A great lullaby song for you newer parents out there. But these memories of Brian playing with his siblings and sleeping with Mom are enough to bring tears to his eyes, and honestly, mine too.
Some hardcore right?
Wow. Thank you for turning me on to something so amazing.
And thank you for giving us that sweet little moment that made us want to go out and adopt like 30 puppies. But sadness can come from having everything you thought you wanted, which is a feeling Lois seems to have daily as she struggles with her purpose in life in episodes like Big Trouble in Little Quahog.
I hate my life and nobody can hear me say it right now!
I feel you, Lois. Chores do suck. But obviously this is a reaction that stems from a much bigger problem in Lois's life, and it's honestly kinda sad to see. Sometimes it comes out in anger, other times in sadness, but at least the house is looking clean. We'll be sure to engrave that on our tombstone when the time comes. And the relationships we have with our parents can often be complicated, and this absolutely applies to Brian, who tries to find closure over his mother abandoning him as a puppy in the episode Road to Rhode Island.
Mom, do something! Mom, help! Mom!
Alright, kicking the episode off with a tearjerker already. They really need to start putting tissue warnings in these episodes. Seeing a baby Brian cry out for his mom as he's taken away from her is a pretty crushing visual, and it's clear that this moment has weighed heavily on Brian years later.
For God's sake, my eyes were barely open and she just gave me away.
It was probably because you were the only one who could talk and she just found you really annoying. I think I'm starting to notice a trend in your life, buddy. Brian's therapist suggests that he seek out his mother to find some closure, but Brian thinks he's doing pretty well without her.
Brian, you really seem to be enjoying your wine lately.
It's only my second glass.
I think the bigger issue here is that you're having wine for breakfast. That is a diabolical combo that would send a shiver down most brunch aficionados' spines. You gotta at least mix it with orange juice to make it the only acceptable form of day drinking. But after a cross-country journey home with Stewie, Brian finds the opportunity to finally get that closure he'd been looking for.
My mother lives in Austin. Don't you see? Fate's brought me back here for a reason. I have to find my mother and make peace with her.
Fate is a funny thing, able to spin running from the police and stealing cars into a good thing. But I guess as long as it lets Brian speak to his mother one last time, then it's all good. Yeah, about that.
She was a good dog.
Was? You mean?
Last year.
But that doesn't mean Brian still can't say the things he's needed to say to her. He just needs to prepare for her responses to be a little dead-eyed.
Well, we love Biscuit so much, we wanted to keep her with us always. So we had her stuff.
Neat! Why can't we do this for humans? They could spend post-mortem being a coat rack that's a big conversation starter. But to Brian, this is obviously horrifying, so he decides to steal his mom back to give her a proper burial.
Say something. What? Just say something, please.
For God's sake.
It's kind of neat to see that Brian and Stewie have both spoken at their respective loved ones' funerals. Of course, Brian's mom and Rupert aren't exactly equal, but they both probably share the same amount of stuffing. Still, this is a pretty early example of Family Guy's emotional chops, using unrequited feelings towards parents to generate a sad tale for Brian to endure. But what Family Guy moment did you find to be the saddest? Let us know down in the comments, and be sure to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more.